Hello everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 16e and compare it against the iPhone 15 Plus and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now what's very interesting is that both of these phones are fairly different, but they're also kind of similar as well. It's this very interesting type of duality that we have here. Now the big thing I'll definitely tell you is that if you want to pick up either one of these phones, if you want to pick up an iPhone 16e or an iPhone 15 Plus, links will be down in the description below. You can get this phone from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, the iPhone 15 Plus that came out back in 2023, on the front side of this particular phone is going to be giving you a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. And it's a very decent panel for the most part. It's not anything super crazy. It's not anything we haven't already seen before. It's a good panel for the most part. With this type of panel though, it's 60 Hz. I definitely wish this panel was a little bit better, but it's a fairly bright panel for the most part, and it gives you a dynamic island, and it gives you a lot of colors to choose from as well. So there's not like too many insane things to kind of think about that this phone is like super terrible or crazy. I definitely do think that this type of phone is fairly good for the most part on the front side, but it's missing a ProMotion display. But guess what? The iPhone 16e is very similar to this type of display. With the iPhone 16e, this type of phone is going to be giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So the thing with this phone, right, and for the most part a very important thing to keep in mind here, the 16e is basically going to be giving you, again, a 60 Hz panel. So it's not even giving you a dynamic island. This phone is also a notch. So that's also another really big disadvantage here. Like having to go through and buy a phone like an iPhone 16e that just came out is basically kind of insane that it still has a 60 Hz panel, and it's even newer than an iPhone 15 Plus. So that's like another super crazy thing going on here as well. So maybe it's not the biggest deal in the world, but that definitely will be one thing you probably will end up seeing in this particular situation. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is that both of them are giving you USB Type-C ports on the bottom. So that right there is always a very nice thing to have. Being able to go through and pick up a phone with USB-C, I think is really cool. And you're essentially going to be getting that instead of this type of device when it kind of comes down to it from that side. On top of that, when it comes down to the sides, they're both flat-sided, which looks great. You are getting a frosted glass back on the back of both of them, which in and of itself, again, is another very cool thing. If you're going to be able to go through and pick up one of these types of phones, you're definitely going to be able to pick up a device that's going to be giving you this type of experience and this type of capability. So I'll definitely tell you from that side as well, this phone is definitely going to be holding up fairly well. Dual camera setup on the iPhone 15 Plus, single camera setup on the iPhone 16e. You're getting wireless charging on both. The 15 Plus though is giving you MagSafe capability. The iPhone 16e on the other hand is not giving you any sort of MagSafe. So this right there is also kind of a disadvantage. It's like, why would you go ahead and want to buy a phone if it's kind of already limited in some of the features that you're going to be getting? And that's exactly what's going on here. So I kind of feel bad a little bit for the iPhone 16e. Like I feel like this type of phone, it's good, but I feel like they could have been doing a little bit of a better job for the most part. And I do feel like that's kind of the biggest disadvantage here probably is the 16e, at least on the exterior, is that it's missing a camera and it's basically missing out on like MagSafe as well. Beyond that though, the price tag of it is very interesting. The 15 Plus right now is being sold for $799. The iPhone 16e is $200 cheaper at $599. So you can save a couple $100 there, and that might be a pretty big deal to you. So if that is a big deal, well, you're definitely going to be able to save some money on something like the iPhone 16e. So that right there could be another big advantage for you. Like if you're trying to go through and pick up a phone, like I mentioned, well, at least by getting a 16e, you're going to be holding up fairly well from that particular side. So that could be one other area to kind of keep in mind here too. Again, it wouldn't necessarily be the biggest deal in the world, but definitely from a price tag standpoint, that could definitely be a very big thing to keep in mind there. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here is basically the cameras. So like I mentioned before, the iPhone 16e is essentially going to be giving you a single 48 megapixel 2-in-1 type of camera, where the iPhone 15 Plus is giving you a wide and ultra wide camera. They both can film in 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which is always nice to have. But here's some very interesting stuff to kind of keep in mind here between both these types of phones. With something like the iPhone 15 Plus, this camera is great, right? It's a really good camera. You're essentially getting 0.5x zoom for the most part, and you're going to be getting 2x zoom, on the iPhone 15 Plus. So both 0.5x and 2x. With the iPhone 16e, you're going to be getting 1x and 2x. So that right there is going to be another somewhat of a disadvantage, I would say, for the iPhone 16e. The fact that that particular phone is only going to be giving you 1x zoom. Yes, they can zoom in the same amount, but you're going to be missing out on that zooming out capability that the iPhone 15 Plus is going to be getting. So that right there is going to be another very, very big disadvantage. And if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, that is in and of itself just one of the more, interesting things to keep in mind there for the most part. So once again, kind of keep that in mind when it kind of comes down to it as well. Now, on top of that, when it kind of comes down to their software longevity, I think another very important thing to keep in mind here too is that with something like an iPhone, 15 Plus, this type of phone is probably still going to be supported with software for many years now. So that phone isn't really going anywhere anytime soon. That phone is still going to be supported with software. You're still going to be able to have it and still be able to use it and everything, which is really, really cool. But the main problem here with something like the iPhone 15 Plus compared to the iPhone 16e is that the 16e is going to be giving you longer software support, but also a software feature that a lot of people probably want inside of their phone, which is Apple Intelligence. So that strictly comes down to the software experience and everything, and you're probably going to be getting that type of experience on the iPhone 16e, where the iPhone 15 Plus isn't necessarily giving you that. So that right there, once again, is another one of those kind of major things to keep in mind there from that particular side as well. So from that side too, that kind of covers it up there as well. And in terms of battery life, what's very interesting is both of these are claimed to have the same size or same amount of battery life at 26 hours of video playback. That was in and of itself a really, really crazy thing to keep in mind there. So with something like the iPhone 15 Plus, you're basically going to be able to get a phone that's going to be giving you long-lasting software experience from that side as well, which once again in and of itself is another massive thing to keep in mind there as well. Finally, when it comes down to the performance, the iPhone 15 Plus is going to be giving you the Apple A16 chipset inside of it with 6 gigs of RAM, where the iPhone 16e is going to be giving you the A18 chipset inside with 8 gigs of RAM. So this is also another interesting thing to keep in mind here. Once again, with the iPhone 16e, this phone is going to be a better phone in this particular situation. So it's going to be a faster phone, which is going to be pretty crazy, and it's going to give you basically the same type of battery life as well. So this is something that's very, very interesting here, because if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, well, by looking at a phone like an iPhone 16e, you're going to be getting a device that's going to be lasting for a long period of time, and it's going to be giving you very strong, performance as well. So it's a very interesting thing, and I think if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, definitely the power of the iPhone 16e is going to be there for sure. So overall, to kind of think about the iPhone 16e and 15 Plus, I definitely will tell you that both these phones are going to be very, very good. I like both these phones, but the 15 Plus probably would be kind of the better option, probably for a majority of people. I feel like that would be the phone I'd probably recommend more amount of people to go and buy for the most part. But I feel like the 16e, it's not even really that good of a value, and neither is the 15 Plus. Like, just to be honest, I feel like neither one of these phones are probably the first devices I'd recommend buying. I think an iPhone 15 Pro, I keep doing this, but I think the iPhone 15 Pro would probably end up being the one that I would probably recommend buying more so than than either one of these, to be honest. I think if I had to pick up one here, the 16e seems like a better value per dollar. The 15 Plus seems like a good phone, it's just a bigger phone, but I think the iPhone 15 Pro would probably be the one I'd recommend buying. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.